Hey guys, so Dr. Lane Norton gave me a bit of a vindication here in his latest What the Fitness video he does every Friday. I'll tag him below, and this is on his YouTube channel. But I want to show you a couple of clips from it so you know what I'm talking about, and then I want to add to it at the end.
Even people in hunter-gatherer communities who walk around 9 kilometers a day burn the same calories as an office worker.
Now you may have heard about this, people telling you don't bother exercising because it doesn't matter, you just compensate for it. Hunter-gatherers walk 10 miles a day, they eat the same amount as an office worker, so exercise isn't going to change anything. Yeah, well, not really. Listen to the man.
Deficit. Exercise still gets you a positive effect. And when we look at the most tightly controlled human randomized control trials, exercise does help with fat loss. If you increase physical activity.
So what's really going on here? Why do we even think this?
American. The problem with that is the average American is a much larger human than a hunter-gatherer in the Hadza. So my guess is, if you actually took Americans, shrunk them down to the lean mass size of the Hadza, you would have a greater energy expenditure in the Hadza because they're doing more physical activity, whereas your average American is sedentary.
Now I want to interject a comment about that, because when I looked at Ponzer's work, it was obvious because he showed his data. The Hadza are 5'1", like the men are like at an average of 5'1" and like 115 pounds. You know, Hadza women are even smaller. And people come back and say, it's like, oh, well, you know, he adjusted, like he equalized for the difference in size. I don't think he did very well. Or at least not in a way that stopped people from misinterpreting his work. Because we have an example in our society of people who are around 5 foot tall, 5'1", somewhere between 100 and 115 pounds, who are as active as the Hadza, you know, highly active, athletically active, and who eat an average of around 2,400 calories a day and maintain a lean body mass as a result of that combination. They're called gymnasts. A Hadza has the body, the activity level, and eats the same amount as an Olympic gymnast. So to say, you know, so to conclude from that, oh, it doesn't matter, you know, whether or not you exercise, you know, an office worker is exactly the same thing as a hunter-gatherer. It's patently ridiculous. It's the same thing as saying if Simone Biles gave up being a gymnast and gave up training and became a sedentary office worker, but nevertheless ate exactly the same amount of food as she does when she's in training, she will naturally remain 104 pounds. Not only does that offend common sense, it also offends the science. Like, that's simply not true. And likewise, the reverse is also true. You know, if you take like a 170-pound, you know, 5-foot-tall office worker, and they changed their life, you know, became an Olympic gymnast, eating the same amount of food, didn't change their diet, same number of calories. Better believe that if they could survive it, just a factor of thermodynamics, they'd end up to be, you know, 104 pounds. And I'm not just beating a dead horse there. That point is very important for the thing that I want to talk about at the end. But Dr. Norton makes a very, very important point on the end of his video that I want to highlight here.
The fact that exercise has a bunch of health benefits outside of weight loss.
Sure.
That's actually very true and very important. But also, something that people don't think about, exercise actually helps improve your brain's own sensitivity to your satiety signals. People who exercise actually have better appetite regulation than people who are sedentary. And so exercise is a good tool for weight loss. Probably the biggest reason, it improves your sensitivity to appetite regulatory signals. And two, yes, it does burn more calories. But we do know that of people who lose weight and keep it off over a long period of time, over 70% of them engage in regular exercise. Of people who lose weight and put it back on, less than 30% engage in regular exercise. If you want to lose weight and you want to keep it off, you should be doing regular exercise.
And here's the science on that last point about satiety signaling. You see here, if you're sedentary, your appetite goes up. You don't even know what your appetite really is unless you're lightly active, when it normalizes down here. So just right off the bat, this right here is why I'm such an advocate against the sit and starve approach to dieting, where you don't try to increase your activity level, you don't try to get exercise, all you try to do is try to manage your diet. Even if you cut out the junk food, even if you have like a purely healthy, stoic diet of only, you know, good food, eating clean, If you remain sedentary, that's not going to help your appetite. Your appetite's still going to be way over your body's energy need, and you're still going to gain weight. But what I want to talk about is a more insidious problem, and that's this right here. Where for you is the bottom of that curve, even with the activity? And this is my part where I want to add to the discussion. This is where I want to add to it. Because there's a presumption that this normalized appetite, where your appetite signalings are actually in tune for how much your body wants you to eat, there's a presumption that that's going to equal your actual energy use. I'm telling you that's not true. Not only is it not a guarantee that once your satiety signalings are attuned correctly, they'll equal the amount of energy you're actually using at a lean body mass. I'm telling you, it's quite common for that not to be the case. And likely for large numbers of us, where a properly tuned appetite actually matches your actual energy use at a lean body mass is more likely somewhere over here. And here I'm going to get anecdotal, using myself as the example. But this is why I'm adding to the discussion. I'm not a scientist in a lab coat, like out there doing studies. I'm a layman that has made a personal observation that's been borne out over the last 10 years of being one of that 10% that maintains their body weight through exercise, offering a very possible, in my opinion, explanation for why there is that 70% of the people that do exercise manage to keep the weight off. That goes beyond merely this regulation of satiety signaling. Because for me and for a lot of these other people that do succeed through exercise, simply light exercise is not enough. They do have to do a bit more than that. Now let's go back in time 10 years. This is me before I lost all the weight. 45 years old, 330 pounds. I was sedentary. There were my maintenance calories. See those maintenance calories? Around 3,000 calories a day. Now, I talk a lot on my channel about how I have a 3,000 calorie appetite. I know from personal experience that if I try to maintain at less than 3,000 calories a day, inevitably hunger gets to me. And this 3,000 calories a day is on like a perfect eating clean, absolutely highest volume, lowest calorie, biggest nutrition, stoic diet. Less than 3,000 calories is just simply not enough to stave off the hunger long term. And then if you add in, like having Christmas, Thanksgiving, a birthday, a weekend, anything where there's any enjoyment of food, it's going to be more than 3,000 calories. And mere light activity, the hunger regulation benefit of mere light activity was not enough to square that circle. In order to stay weight stable at 210, what I am now at 6'6", lean body composition, somewhere in the fit range, at the edge of the fit range, around 17% body fat. Light activity was not enough. It had to be moderate. And you know why it had to be moderate? That's why. Because that's my natural appetite. 3,000 calories a day. I actually have to be a little bit more active than that in order to also be able to enjoy life. I do need to have an average closer to 3,200, 3,250 in order to be able to enjoy myself and not merely eat to survive. And this fact implies there's something beyond the hunger dysregulation effect of being sedentary. That while we absolutely do not have a fat set point, a body fat set point where our bodies want us to be obese, it's clear to me that we absolutely do have an appetite set point. The purpose of which is hunger signaling sufficient for the amount of activity our bodies are expecting us to get, regardless of how much activity we are getting. And when you combine that with the historical data, with the anthropological data, that in fact human beings for the entire length of our existence have in fact been at least moderately active, not sedentary, that our bodies have within it that hardwired expectation of needing to fuel this level of activity, that I feel is the missing piece of the puzzle. Meaning not only is diet not the only thing, it's not even the primary thing. Bad diet isn't the imbalance. It's the thing that multiplies the effect of the imbalance. And the real imbalance, it's not from gluttony, it's from indolence. See you guys.